Hello and welcome again. Back with me and the Mighty Win on the match reaction. Mighty Win is going to put the pass in the chat for everybody to jump on board and have your say. Yeah, come and have your say. And again, like I say, just let me remind you guys, if you like what you hear, like what you see, give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for future content. So, matey, we've gone to the Emirates and we've lost 1-0. And if Man City win that game in hand now, we'll be the only team in the top 7 to have lost. It makes it very
with far and away the hardest game of the top.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'm not saying it wasn't, but I'm just putting it as it is. You know, if Man City win that game in hand, we are the only team to lose out of the top 7. So it just makes it really tight going into the last game now, doesn't it?
I tell you what kind of annoys me. In the chat right now, there's 4 comments. Well, there's 3 comments apart from the link. Passing like shits in the night. Crap. And Eddie has a few questions to answer. That, to me, is so reactionary and so over the top based on the way the game went today. It absolutely sums up the way certain sections of the Newcastle fans react. Because for a start, it wasn't crap. Just for some context. Oh, that was Lewis, by the way. Hey, Lewis. Crap. XG today, 0.65 for Arsenal, 1.6 for Newcastle. Big chances, 1 for Arsenal, 3 for Newcastle. Total shots, 12 for Arsenal, 14 for Newcastle. Goalkeeper saves, 5 for Arsenal, 3 for Newcastle. We, in the first half particularly, we just couldn't finish our dinner. We've been there before. How surprising that we couldn't finish our dinner without the best striker in the country at arguably the second most difficult fixture for any club in the Premiership in a season. Obviously, Liverpool away is the hardest fixture. Arsenal, who've been clearly in second place all season, away, is obviously the second hardest fixture. And we're getting all these negative comments after we've been very narrowly beaten 1-0 without Alexander Isak in our team. Are we a better team with Isak and a fit Isak in our team? Of course we are. So any hyper-criticism about today's performance, seriously, you need to have a look at yourselves.
Yeah.
I thought we were the better team on the day.
First off,
we didn't get the result. And so, all of a sudden, everybody starts throwing their toys out the pram. It's just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, it was definitely a game of 2 halves. We were the most dominant, and the chances were there. I mean, Raya, to be fair, should have been given.
Thank you,
thanks, Sam. Yeah, cheers, buddy.
But we have one more game, exactly.
Exactly, yeah, it's still in our hands.
Which, to be fair, is the game I've been worried about all season.
I mean, to be fair, there's been a couple of dodgy results, hasn't there? You know, at the end of the day, we only needed one other result to go our way in the ones we've lost at home, the poor results, and we wouldn't be worried now. And this is the trouble, isn't it? Now it's a typical Newcastle thing, if I'm honest with you. You know, for me, man of the match is their keeper. He saved them the first half. Pope hadn't really had to make a save in the second half at all. So it just proves, yes, they managed the game in the second half much better. And unfortunately, through a misplaced touch from Anthony Gordon, creates their one and only opportunity, which you have to give Rice credit. He took superbly well from 20 yards, driven hard, low, with the, not through the laces type of thing, but it was well controlled, bending away from Nick Pope into that right-hand corner. And like I said, apart from that, you can't really say that we were threatened by Arsenal. But on the other hand, in the second half, you can't also say we threatened Arsenal. And again, it's what we were saying, isn't it? We look at the impact players coming in off the bench. The players that are going to actually go on there and do something. Now, you can see as soon as Raw, right? As soon as just one of them players up top, again, it's them train tracks. He wants to get in and behind, and he's not really the player to lead the line up top. Neither is Anthony Gordon. And as soon as you take out your main striker, and I'm not saying, Isaac or Wilson, once you get rid of them, in actual fact, our threat disappeared. Then you start moving players around that were threats the first half. Harvey Barnes, for one. He then goes and plays on the right wing because you've made changes. Disappears out the game. So your main threat throughout the first half, you've taken out the game because of the choice you've made, because you've brought a seal on. That's what I said. I wouldn't have changed that team for another 10 minutes. And he's reacted to going behind. And to be fair, in the first half, it looked like two totally different teams. They started the second half like we started the first half.
Listen, kudos to Arteta, whingy face Turag that he is. When he took Saliba, I don't know whether Saliba was injured or anything, or whether it was a conscious tactical decision. But when Calafiori came on, he made a massive difference to what they were doing.
Yeah, he wanted to. He looked in control of the ball, didn't he?
Almost instantly.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, I agree and disagree because we weren't pressing. You've got nobody who's going to run the line. Like I keep saying, when you haven't got Isaac, if you stay central, a central figure, which what Wilson does, that's his job, to stay within the 6 yard box, if you like, in the lines, the parallel lines. He came out of that parallel lines once in the first half to overload the left hand channel, but apart from that, he was the central figure. You got Harvey Barnes playing that inside right position, and as I said to you before, the biggest problem we have is when you come away from the system that we started with, we look bloody ordinary. When we went to a 4-3-3, it was far too easy for Arsenal to play the channel balls, to play the balls into the channels dead easy. And they weren't really pressing us. They were still obviously aware of the pace that we'd got with Anthony Gordon down that left-hand channel. And they'd adopted a situation where they did that. I agree. Calafiori is one of those players that comes in and you think this may upset the apple cart a little bit, but he's comfortable with the ball. He's really comfortable with the ball if you don't go and press him. And I think that's the problem.
2-6, because I've got quite a few people.
Go on, go for it.
WhatsApping me and saying, is that the wrong link?
Well, we are certainly live.
Well, it certainly is the wrong link. That's the one that Chris sent me this morning.
Right, well, there you go. I'll put it back on.
There's the right link. And let's just do this.
I've put it up, mate. There you go. I've linked it in there, so you've all got it now. So come on board and have your say.
Because what happened? I bet everybody I've sent that link. I asked Chris to send us
That was the link for the first one. I bet you that was the watch along. I bet.
Oh, right.
But listen, at the end of the day, it doesn't you can call it what it is. It just proves the depth of our squad just isn't there. We've got nobody coming in off the bench. Once you start your best 11 players, apart from Isaac, obviously, because he wasn't involved. Once you start your best 11 players, impact players just don't exist at Newcastle at the minute. And in important games like this one, you lose that faith a little bit in some of the players. It's all about decision making at the right times for me. And like I say, there was just wrong decisions at the wrong time. Andy, well, I hear.
We can hear you.
I can hear you. It works, man. I can hear you.
Work. Look at them.
Yeah.
They're
all on. Yeah, here they are. Come on. Andy, can you not hear us? Oh, Andy's gone. Stay. Here we go. Ben.
Oh, there's Ben.
Come on then, Jap. Have your say.
What's up? What's up, boys? How you going? You all right?
Yeah, good.
Good to see you again.
Long time no speak.
Yeah, I hope you're well. I'm not well after that game.
I don't think anybody is in a black and white shirt, mate.
No. I don't know what we're doing with Gordon. Harvey Barnes is the guy now, guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Harvey Barnes is the guy that needs to be on that left. Gordon gave the ball away for their only goal. It's just he was poor all day. Win, I know you were counting like the things that he did well, and I know you were doing that same for Barnes, and the Barnes stuff outweighed Gordon, didn't he?
Oh, by a country mile.
So why are we forcing this? Why are we changing Why are we changing something that wasn't broken ever?
I think what you're looking for, you're looking for, like I said, just while you guys were jumping on board, was that reaction. And if you can get that reaction off the bench, then you've got an opportunity. The biggest problem for Newcastle, there's not enough in depth where you need to change something up. And like I said, everybody's asking for Asula to come on board. Once we put Gordon through the middle, you lose two players. You lose Gordon, who's a threat down the left-hand side. He'd caused Ben White in the first half and a couple of times in the second half issues. Then you lose Harvey Barnes from that inside right position, who was doing the diagonal run. Once we went to the 4-3-3, we looked absolutely wide open. I mean, there was a couple of times from Arsenal, if they'd have used the right ball, we were 2-on-1 caught out. Yes, we were chasing the game in the final few, but we just don't have... I don't think we've got that cover once we start going back to 4-3-3 at the Emirates. If you don't take your chances like we created in the first half, that was the opportunity to take that lead into the second half and then just let them play in front of us. Shut the shop, let them play and hit them like they hit us on that break. And all they're looking for is a mistake, which is what Anthony Gordon gave you.
We could have and should have buried them, I think, in the first half.
Yeah, absolutely.
We had. But for me, if Gordon leaves in the summer, that's okay by me, as long as we keep Harvey Barnes. I'm okay with that now.
I think that's a bit
You can see Barnes is way more effective in the way that he plays than Gordon. Gordon, he overruns the ball. He over dribbles the ball. I don't know if it's an ego thing where he feels he has to take the player on and take it round him. If you notice with Murphy, they just put the ball in the box, man. Just put the ball in the box. And even at the end there, where we were gaining on them, he checks back outside when he's already got in the box.
Got pucks, exactly.
And you've got players coming in. Just put it in the dangerous area.
Yeah, deflection or whatever.
For me, he's not a definite start. I think Barnes is the better on the left side. Gordon should be impact sub based on his pace when the opposition gets tired. For me, it feels like it breaks down with him. I know it looks scintillating because he's got these long legs and he's running and it's like, oh, he's gone past one player and whatever. But if you're not putting the ball in the box, you're not effective.
Not effective at all.
That's without the attitude, because he loses the ball and then he jogs. He shows no will to get the ball back. And Andy was talking pre this show. He made a great point actually about the one where the ball looked like it was running out of play, and Tino doesn't give up on it, and he does. That was a great
Yeah.
point by Andy.
I've got Andy in my ears, lads. I'm not
Yeah,
laughing at
so,
you guys.
well, he can't.
Andy,
We
can't.
can
We can hear him.
We can hear him, but he can't hear us.
Andy, if you're watching us, mate, come on board, have your say, and if you can't hear us, just jump back out. It's not a problem, dude. I know it's an issue, but we can hear you, and so I'm sure those out in Viewland will do the same as well. So I'm going to ask you guys, because obviously you've watched the match the same as us. Who was your standout player today?
Tonali.
Okay, Jefferson.
I'm gonna say Tino. I think Tino had another good game.
See, for me, Harvey Barnes. I thought Harvey Barnes literally ripped them a new one in the first half. Second half, obviously, because of changing position, was very ineffective. And that's not his fault. That's just the manager trying to change the system. But I thought Harvey Barnes, I was saying that's why I mentioned it to Win when he asked who I should watch. The difference between a player who can affect a game and be really difficult to pick up. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think Tino had a good game. I'm not saying he wasn't a poor player. But you want players, Tonali's always going to affect the game because he plays in a role that's very important to the system of the squad. And the beauty of having three behind you is it allows the both of them to affect in the opposite area. And Tonali's a really difficult player to pick up because he's always moving. It's players that become static for me, that become too easy. And that's why I thought about Harvey Barnes in the first half. He drops from that 10 role, drops into the 6 role, brings players with him, and that allows the likes of Bruno to affect those positions that have been vacated by the player marking Harvey Barnes. Sometimes just clever movements by clever players can affect the opposition third more than a player with technical abilities, if you've got the ability to.
I thought Tino should have buried that one in the first half at the end.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I thought Tino and Anthony Gordon's roles had inverted a little bit. I thought if you'd have given that to Anthony Gordon, there was probably a better chance of a conversion of a goal rather than Tino. Tino just gets a nosebleed when he gets that high. He hasn't.
Final third.
Yeah, he hasn't got the calmness of a Lewis Hall, has he? In that final third.
And that little chance, there was a little chance. There was a good passage of play with these 1-2s. And if you notice, Tino got in and poor Wilson made a great run. He just needed to lay it 5 yards and Wilson had a shot on. And then I don't know if he got confused and then he got tackled and lost the ball.
Yeah, like I say, it's that second choice with Tonali's not instinctive. You know what I mean? It's not not Tonali, sorry, Tino. It's not instinctive when he gets that high up the field. And because it's a role that he's very rarely played. I mean, if you look at the only goal he scored against Wolves, wasn't really a shot, was it? Do you know what I mean? It was like, I'm going to put a toe on it and wherever it goes, it goes. And it was a brilliant ending to a great run, don't get me wrong. But he gets himself into some really great positions. And I hope, and this is what I said, it gives him the confidence not to go backwards, to keep looking and getting into those positions, because until you get into those positions, you're never going to get the opportunity to shoot. And, we saw it against Chelsea. He got in similar positions and instead of shooting, he actually stopped and tried to play a ball, where today he actually took a shot. So that to me is an advancement. Yeah, it wasn't a great shot, but he's advancing his role. And I think, if he's going to continue in that vein on the inside left position, he needs the ability and the confidence to shoot.
I thought he did really well, though, for playing like a left midfielder that he wasn't sort of used to. With Byrne behind him, I didn't like it when I saw it on the paper. I didn't like Byrne being back at the left back spot, but I think they managed to work it out well amongst all of them.
Yeah,
it was surprising, but they worked it out.
Right, here we go.
Andy, if you can hear us, mate, just say your piece, dude, because you're on live now. I think. No, I don't think Andy's going to be. No. Well, because obviously he's getting really frustrated, Andy, bless him. I don't know what it is with Andy and his technology.
Well, everybody's using the same links.
Yeah, I know. It is some people just come on and it just doesn't happen. Andy, can you hear me? Put your thumbs up if you can hear me, dude. No, he can't hear me. Bless him. He'll come back. So go on. The other person who I thought had a decent game today, and I thought he carried his the badge on his sleeve and his heart, was Bruno. I thought Bruno had a really effective game. He did try different things. Yes, there's times when he's frustrating because he tries things that you think you don't need to try. He does go to ground a bit too often for me at times. But I thought he carried the captain's armband really well today.
It'll be no surprise who I think's up there in the thing, because I thought Dan Burn was once again just a rock, man.
He was.
Absolute rock.
Nearly scored.
And nearly scored.
Yeah,
indeed.
absolutely. Should have scored, I would imagine, if you put it down to, chances missed. Because it was a great header, great save.
Well, like I say, man of the. I don't know who got man of the match for Sky Sports, but it should have been Raya.
Yeah, he had an amazing game, Raya.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, like I say,
he made 3 saves that were goals, basically.
If it were any other keeper,
and that's the point I'm making. Everybody's obviously immediate aftermath, bitterly disappointed that we've got beat. But we weren't outplayed. We weren't. We should have won. If we finished our dinner in the first half, the job's done. And bear in mind, we've done all of that without the best centre forward in the Premiership.
Yeah. And to be fair, it's the same team that's been out there for virtually all season, without a rest. Bruno's done 50. That's his 52nd game, I think it is, this season. And it tells. I think sometimes, you listen to his interview. I think the lads, without being rotated out, and you can say, the likes of Harvey Barnes coming in, he's pretty fresh. Anthony Gordon, it still looks like pre-season for me with Anthony Gordon. Not sure what's happened to this lad since the Euros. He's just dropped off the peg a little bit for me.
But you know what I think it is? I think he's become predictable like what Miggy did. Miggy became predictable and everyone figured him out. And now I think Gordon has become predictable as well.
Oh.
I do agree the fact that he tries to beat the player time and time again. Andy, can you hear me? Put the thumbs up, dude. Oh, no. He still can't hear me. I think he's tried his misses now. Andy, can you hear me?
I want to send him a message, Gary, and I'm just going to say it to him.
Yeah, look, at Lee McFarlane's there saying he should just FaceTime him. We should.
I'll say one more thing and then I got to clear off. Everton has always seemed like the team that we cannot get our hands over. We're either doing a silly draw or they beat us on a lucky goals here and there. I mean, we have to win next weekend to be in the Champions League, yes?
Yes.
And if we don't, we could fall as far as, 6 or 7?
Well,
7th.
Depending on what everybody else does.
I mean, don't forget Forest have got Chelsea. And that's what I said, that falls in our favour to a degree, but only slightly.
Well, only
but it's
because it's goal difference, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
We need Chelsea to win now, don't we?
We do need Chelsea to win. Yeah. And that's what I said. When if Man City win their game in hand now, we'll be the only side out the top 7 not to get a result, to get 3 points this weekend.
But if we do win, we're in. We're clear.
Yeah. We only need another 3 points. Yeah. But that's what I said. This next last game for everybody in the top 7 is a 6-pointer.
I'd rather play anybody in the last game with this stuff on the line, but Everton, because they'll spoil it. I know they will.
Well, we all know.
Get Gordon away from that game because his emotions will be all off kilter. Where he wants to prove
Exactly.
the point again, he'll just have a poor game. Just keep him away from the game. I'm not messing about now. I've just had enough. I've had enough because we've worked so hard to get to this point. So to see us fall out of it, I'm not accepting Europa League at this point. And it sounds to me like neither's Eddie.
You're not accepting
It, it,
Europa League.
neither's Eddie nor the players.
No,
Every interview I've seen, they've all said Champions League, Champions League.
yeah.
So us as fans shouldn't relent from that either.
Yeah.
No.
And
And to be fair, the first half performance, if you're actually 100% honest with yourselves, you could see they won Champions League.
yeah.
They dominated.
But
Can you guys hear that?
But. You're
Andy, can
saying
you hear us?
I can't accept
I'm gonna have to
Europa League, right? Right. So what happens if we get Europa League? What are you going to do about it?
We're not going to do anything, Win. But
So
it's
is
the fact
is
that
Villa getting
players-
in? The question is Villa getting in?
Well, I'm also worried.
Oh, you're saying I am not accepting Europa League. So what are you going to do about it if we don't get
Well, I mean,
Champions League?
Win. There's nothing we can do.
Exactly.
But
So to say I'm not accepting it is just a meaningful, a meaningless statement.
It's trying to have a winning mentality. It's not good enough. We have to be ambitious. We're trying to transform the club.
And
We've done half the job. We've done half the job by winning that first cup. We need to get back into the Champions League after being out of it for one season.
Yeah.
Last
And
year we had
also-
the excuses of injuries. This year we have no excuses. And if you've seen Villa, who have been through the Champions League, and they're about to
This
and
year
get
we'll
in
have
it,
no excuses.
Villa will be in the Champions League back-to-back seasons. Why are they in it and we're not? If that happens,
You're
it's not
saying
acceptable.
this year we have no excuses.
Yeah, because we've had no Europe. So despite an extended cup run, it's less games than the teams that have been in Europe win.
We haven't spent a
And we
penny.
haven't had as many bad injuries as we had the season before.
No, but we haven't spent a penny.
But the quality's there, Win.
Yeah. But everybody else has improved their squads. We haven't.
We have the best midfield in the league. Any team would love to have Joe Linton, Tonali,
Absolutely.
and Bruno.
And Joy Linton's been missing for.
We've also got the best striker in Europe. So the quality's there. There are no excuses, Win. No excuses.
J7 has missed almost half the games this season. Isaac has been playing, obviously injured, for I don't know, 10 or 12, 15 games this season. You're saying we haven't bought anybody else to improve the squad.
We've had it in our hands the whole time. And I'm sorry to say it, at some point the bill comes due. And you go back to those first 15 games of the season. You transform any of those results.
But the first 15 games of the season, the first 15 games
of any of those results.
Oh, hang on. The first 15 games of the season, which was the best start we'd ever had to a Premier League.
What, 5 wins, 5 draws, 5 defeats? You sure about that?
Yeah.
We were playing awful. We were lucky to... The 5 wins we did get, we were lucky to get.
You can say lucky to get.
Yeah, but
I'll go back to the Everton 0-0 draw.
I'll say
Gordon took the penalty. Anybody else takes a penalty, we get those 3 points. We're in the Champions League today.
The defeat we had today, we were unlucky.
But
Right.
do we want to be
Yes,
plucky?
Andy. I've said
Is that what
Andy.
we want to be? Do we want to be
Andy, just
plucky
talk.
competitors?
Yeah.
That's the thing. That's what we have to transform with.
Without pace is championship level. He gives the ball away constantly. He's roadrunner, but back to goal, he is no good. He needs to knock the ball into midfield and run well without the ball, and he's not doing it. He gave up a ball that Tino went and saved for. We nearly created something from it, and then 2 minutes later, he's given the ball away. With plenty of room, all he's got to do is take his time, play a safe ball. No, gives the ball away. We're 1-0 down, and that might cost us Champions League. We have to comprehend that. I'm trying to sort out another device. I've only tried 7 so far. But we'll see. Hopefully, I get to catch you soon. All right. Take care, guys.
Cheers, Andy. Well
I
done.
like him. He talks sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy's superb.
Oh.
We love having Andy on. Unfortunately, he just doesn't ever. He gets so
You can
frustrated.
never hear
bless him.
us.
No,
also
but no,
the
you're
thing, guys,
absolutely right. Go on.
The thing else is, like, we need Champions League not only for our season, but for next season, for potential players wanting to come and play Champions League football. We need that. Europa League. Are they going to want to come just because we won a Carabao Cup and we're in Europe of some sort? No, I really think Champions League is a must in terms of that.
And there's every likelihood we'll get it.
You see, for me, I thought we played better today, especially the first half, than we did in the games that we beat them in the cup game. I thought there was times in that first half we made Arsenal, who were running second, look very ordinary.
That is the second hardest fixture in any Premier League team's fixture list in a season.
And it was tough already.
And we've got beat 1-0 when, in my opinion, we really shouldn't have done. We should have won it. If we take
It's already going to be tough to win four times.
But that's football, man.
Yeah, it is. But what I'm saying to you is they rely, like today, they've relied on one mistake. That's all they've relied on. Because we couldn't finish it. What they've relied on is a mistake, and they've took a chance. One chance. And to be fair, it was a great goal. That's what I said. You can't take anything away from... Andy's got his fingers crossed now. Can you hear us, Andy? No. No.
All right, I'm going to love you and leave you guys. I got to get going. Ready.
Yeah, cheers, dude. Thanks ever so much.
Take care, Ben.
Take it easy, soon.
Are you in on Wednesday for extra time?
Potentially. All right, I love you.
Right,
ciao. Take care, Ben. It's really weird, isn't it? How is one bad result at this time of the season always feels like the rug's been taken under your feet, doesn't it? And unfortunately we are, like I said, it's a game of two halves. You take your chances. You take your chances, and you've got the world at your feet. Andy, can you not hear us now? He's 7 devices, he's saying. And now look, we can hear him absolutely fine, but he just can't hear us. It's really weird. Go on, Jefferson. Give us some. I mean, you understand the game really well.
For me, it's so obviously the first half there were some really good passages of play, and Gary Neville was right. He said we have more incision, so that was the key. We were actually breaking through their spaces, breaking the lines. The second half, there's this repetitive pattern we've had in a few games this season. I don't know what says at half time, but we just drop off. And as Ben said, we shouldn't have broken what didn't need fixing. We should have just kept to the same tactics. So I'm not sure what happened there. There was a real drop off. For example, I remember we just sort of watched Saka saunter 20 yards towards the box and then let him cut in. And let him cut in on his left and have a shot. We can't afford to do that. And also, that's why I think it was key having Murphy there at times, Tino, because they were able to cover the back three. So I'm not going to have a go at Eddie, because I think Eddie at least tried something different in terms of reverting to what we did last week. And he noticed very quickly, and he looked very responsive on the touchline to make those changes when it wasn't working. So I've got no issue with Eddie and how he approached the game, nor the substitutions, because at least he tried. For me, it's more about the players. For me, Gordon's let the team down, some not being clinical and poor decision making, unfortunately. But it's luck of the green. That's how it goes. We've got to pick ourselves up next week, dust ourselves down, and go again. We've got to get those 3 points next week without failure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, it's still in everybody's hands, isn't it? You know, it's those who go out there and perform at the end
As
of the
as
day.
I say, if anybody had said at the start of the season, we're going to win the Carabao Cup, and then we're going to go into the last game of the season in third place with a home game against Everton, would anybody have turned that down?
No.
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 But I think we mustn't.
And that's where we are.
What we mustn't do though, Win, is use the cup to sugarcoat the cake. Because at the end of the day,
Why not?
you know why? Because it's the League Cup. It's the League Cup. So apart from the connotations of us not having a trophy for 70 years, which
Exactly.
we've all been craving, you are judged on the league, which is your bread and butter. And even I saw, was it Neville and Keane? They were saying even if Man United won the Europa League, they'd still feel embarrassed by their league position. You are judged based on a 38-game season.
Well, I'll tell you what.
So the bread and butter is where we're at.
If Newcastle were to win the Europa League, I wouldn't feel embarrassed about anything at all.
Yeah, because we would be top 5 as we stand at the moment. But I'm just saying in terms of we're going into that final game, and do you cut the mustard or not? Are you a Champions League team or not? And my take on it is this. There's many different moving parts, as Ben talked about. It's about off the pitch as well. We're trying to grow. We're trying to transform. And a part of that means we need the revenue, we need the sponsorships, we need the viewerships, anything that comes with the prestige of being in the Champions League. If we miss out, we can't have the attitude of, there's next time. We don't know how next season's going to go. You don't think the other teams are going to strengthen? And then with Villa getting back-to-back Champions League, which is looking like it might happen, the gap opens again. And that's a rival. That's a rival. What if Spurs win the Europa and they end up in Champions League? It's frustrating. So it's more about we've got it in our hands, and you just don't want to loosen that grip. If we were nowhere near it, I'd be like, okay, oh well. But the fact we've been in that position, and then if it goes, I think people would have every right to be fuming. I just don't want us to be sort of plucky participators.
Yeah,
we want to be winners. We want to be winners.
But I am not a plucky participator. But I'm a realist. And Eddie Howe has been fighting with his hands tied behind his back with PSR, FFP, everything, all the alphabet soup to go with it. And we are still where we are.
I don't think anybody's...
We are ninth in terms of how much we spend on salaries for our players. We're ninth in the league. Because that's how much we can afford to spend.
That's why we need Champions League.
Yeah,
we want to give Isak 300 grand a week.
It's all very well saying...
We can't afford it at the moment.
It's all very well saying that's why we need it, but just needing it and wanting it doesn't mean it's going to happen. It has to be earned. And you earn it by having the players on the pitch who can do that. And you get players on the...
We've got one of the best coaches in the game, though, Win.
Well, I've got one of the best coaches in the game.
So if they're well drilled...
Which is why we're overperforming. Which is why we're third instead of being ninth.
I think there's a combo of things. I think we need a bit of better quality in some areas, and we're seeing some positive shades of things. For me, I think possession, we need to improve with possession, because what I noticed in the team today, there's too much dribbling. And when you dribble, you allow the other team to reset. We need to start playing more 1 and 2 touch football.
Well,
there was a few times today I think we could have got into better spaces if we released the ball quicker.
Hallelujah, we agree on something. Because I am a firm advocate of one-touch football, which is why I really like Louis Miley, because he
you like Miley now? Have I twisted your arm?
I've always liked Miley. He doesn't do a lot creatively, but the one thing he does do is one touch. He's straight out of the Tenali mould in terms of one touch football. And we've got too many players like Bruno, like Shea, who dwell on the ball instead of push. We play by taking our time. It takes us 2 passes to get the ball where it's got to go to, instead of the first player making it 1 pass. And therefore you're giving the opposition a chance to. But that's about the quality of player that you've got.
Maybe the formation, because I think if we had, and I'm not having to go at Eddie, because I'm actually happy he's gone with what we did last week and this week. But I think potentially, as what you're describing, we could get away with maybe a 4-2-3-1, and having maybe Miley and Tonali deeper with Bruno at the top of the triangle, and then you've got the wingers next to him. If that makes, I don't know what you think about that, Gary.
Now we'll come back into the which I wholeheartedly agree with, by the way. Instead of Willock, when you say, and again we're forgetting we weren't just missing Isaac today, we're missing J7. You're saying we've got the best midfield trio. Yeah, we have when they're all fit. But J7 this season is, in fact, how many games has J7 missed this season? You'd be amazed, I tell you.
Yeah, I think. Listen, at the end of the day, it's ifs, buts, and maybes. We all say one more game, one draw that we could have won. We look at the Everton game where Gordon missed the penalty. We look at Fulham. We look at all these games. West Ham at home, these dropped points that we could have already sealed Champions League. And I think what the frustration is for me, we've allowed it to come down to the last game of the season where it's squeaky bum time. And we all know, being a Newcastle fan for 50-odd years, you are always going to be on this roller coaster of happiness and complete, gutted from a performance. And like I said, I have seen lots of 0-0s in my time where I look back and I go, God, that was 45 minutes I'm never going to get back. The first 45 minutes of that game went by so quick because it was such a good game of 2 teams. I'm not saying, I'm not going to disjoint Arsenal, but Newcastle had the better of them. Mm-hmm. We fell away when we had to revert back to the 4-3-3. And we, unfortunately, then with the 4-3-3, you have to have the right players playing that system. We are, 37 games in with virtually the same 11 players that started the season, give or take a couple. And I think on some it shows, if I'm honest with you. The interview with Bruno, 52 games into the season, when you look at his internationals and cup competitions, that to me, and he says, I'm tired. I am tired now. And I think that is the problem when you have a limited amount of players. I've got Andy still trying to get in my ears. Bless him. Andy, are you? Can you hear us?
Try it sideways. Just misses us in.
I've tried that. It doesn't work.
Give it a bang. Give it a bang.
I'm gonna have. And for me, whatever happens now, this has been an absolutely, it's been one of the best years that I've ever been as a Newcastle fan. Yes, I was born before '69, but I was a bairn. I didn't really understand football then. Now, for me, for challenging Champions League, I feel disappointed because of the effort that the lads have put in to get us here with a very limited squad. And I think that is frustration. You start pinpointing, you said about
You're
Anthony
saying
Gordon.
You're disappointed there's still a game to go, man.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but it feels disappointing because...
Yeah, hello.
Are you there? No, he's not there. He's still not there.
He just kept his own screen.
Yeah, but I think he has. I think he's eaten 7 phones up to yet. And that is the frustration. I'm not disappointed in what we've given this season because they've given us a cup. What I'm disappointed in is there's games gone by, and I understand what Jefferson's saying, that we should have already buried this when we weren't so tired. You know, when you're leaving it up to the last minute, the last game to go out there, yeah, it gets exciting. I mean, I'm just looking at the running now, you know, and we've got Everton and stuff like that. Chelsea have got Forest, which is one of the biggest games, and you know, all eyes are going to be on the Forest and Chelsea game because for both sides it means a hell of a lot, you know. But as we've said, are Forest going to get through because of obviously the Olympiacos rule? You know what I mean? He owns both teams, and Olympiacos are 15 points clear in the Greek league. So is that going to hinder Nottingham Forest's progression, or is it going to hinder Olympiacos? So there could be still a twist in this tale yet, even if we finish bloody 7th and we don't get the result against Everton. So, like I said, it ain't doom and gloom. All I'm saying to you is what we've said from the start.
We can't finish 7th, by the way.
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
that's something.
You know, we can't finish 7th, but I'm just throwing it out there with a curve.
We've got a game to play. We are already above
Forest, who were 65.
Yeah,
The goal difference as well, right?
And the goal
we've got the
difference,
goal
which is
difference,
which is an extra point in anybody's eyes, isn't it? But what I'm saying to you is, you know, as daft it looks, we could finish 6th. You know what I mean? Which could still be a twist in the tail. That's all I'm saying. And for me, the one thing that this does prove is 3 windows without bringing anybody in has not jeopardised us going forward. It's hindered us. It's hindered the progression of the squad because you do not get the impact. I mean, Wynn said straight away, they bought on Calafiori, a centre-back, a makeshift left-back, and he looked like so comfortable on the ball and creating problems down our left-hand side that we just couldn't handle because they were overloading that left-hand channel for a very short window. I mean, don't get me wrong, it changed, but for a very short window, we looked all over the shop. We looked disorganised for the first time in the game. And that's a centre-back coming on for them. And, I mean, we'd made a comment, Saliba's gone off. That's got to give us a bit of a plus point going forward now. In actual fact, we never looked like scoring after that. Once Saliba had gone off,
again,
they looked a stronger side.
Calafiori is very...
Again, that's not strictly true because Bruno and Barnes both had bloody good chances to score.
Well, I mean, there were half chances. I mean, I wouldn't say there were very good chances. We certainly didn't create anything like we did in the first half.
I thought Sula was good. I thought, you know, he created havoc. He's someone that creates havoc.
Down the right-hand side, yes.
I'm not sure why
not through the
he's on
centre.
right. I would have just had him through the middle because at the very minimum, you can at least play long ball, make him run into the channels, and then give the others time to support him.
I disagree with that.
Gordon through the middle because he's not got strength, and we're not a possession team. Like we're not going to play it through for him to run.
I don't ever want to see Gordon through the middle.
It didn't
well,
work.
No,
So
it's
I'm not
totally
giving,
ineffective.
I'm not giving Eddie any flowers for that bit of his tactical, you know, take on the game and what he did. But for a start, I couldn't understand Bond. Listen, I regularly criticised Eddie for his substitutions and in-game decisions. And I do the same again today. There's no way should Bonds have been one of the players to go off. And that's despite, I'm just having a look here at the Chronicle, at their player scores. The Chronicle have given Harvey Barnes the 3rd worst score of the team.
Wow.
Marginally in front of Anthony. He got 5 in front of Gordon and Callum on 4. And the only comment they make is blazed over a great chance as the game petered out. Nothing about all the good stuff he'd done in the first half. And this is what happens when different eyes look at the game. As I say, to me, there was nothing the matter with today's performance. Overall, I was disappointed with any substitutions, but I could see why he did it, because it was a reaction to Calafiori coming on and changing the game for Arsenal without a doubt. So he said, oh, well, we better do something about this. But what he did, for me, was, questionable, especially taking Barnes off. And as Chris, the American mag, knows only too well, I'm not the greatest fan of Harvey Barnes. I think he does stuff really well, but I think he has his limitations. So taking him off after the first half that he'd had, which was superb, and I was on Barnes watching the first half, and he only in the whole of the first half, in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, in 22 interactions, he did 2 fantastically. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 very, very well, and only 2 which, and I've made a note on them both, if you've got to be harsh to criticise him for what he did. So to me, he had a fantastic first half. As Gary said, it's Gary's man of the match, and certainly first half, he was my man of the match.
No, I wouldn't say, like I say, he's man of the match. I think when you're looking at a player who gets involved in a game and creates problems, to me, he was one of those picks where he constantly created problems for Arsenal to deal with.
Yeah,
he
absolutely.
came deep. He got into the half spaces, and it's always difficult for the opposition to actually pick up the half space. When you play in that 10 role between defender and midfield. Odegaard does it really well for Arsenal, especially in the second half. He was picking up more of those little half spaces where we reverted to a 4-3-3, we found difficult then, because then you lose one of your midfielders. One of your midfielders drops into the hollow. And we didn't look so strong then. And then you start looking at, yes, we play with width, because you've got your Harvey Barnes on the right-hand side and your Anthony Gordon on the left-hand side. At the time, you had a Sula up the middle. What you then get is space between all 3 players. And as you noticed, there was a great opportunity to get in behind them, where Gordon went running down the left-hand side, but then stops because there's nobody to actually aim for in the middle of the box, because that is Gordon. Once Gordon's gone over the back and through you, unless you've got somebody that can get in with you, you're isolated. You have to stop, and it looks like you're trying to take the same player on 2 or 3 times. And that is the unfortunate thing that's why I said, and I've been one to heavily criticise Harvey Barnes in the past when he's played left-hand side. What Harvey Barnes gives you is allows the team to catch up with you, because he's got the technique and the ability to hold on to that ball and shift the ball when it's needed to. So over the overlap with Tino, or anybody who's running in behind Isak, he'll just thread the ball through, and then he goes central. What I noticed today, when he's playing, again, the same Chelsea tactic, was when he comes on that inverted inside right position to a more central on a diagonal, it's who picks him up. You're taking 2 or 3 players away from one position, and that's where you get somebody else who has the ability to. And again, this is why I was disappointed, because what you got from Jacob Murphy today was very little on the attacking offensive. He was very much a case of, I'm going to sit as the wing back and allow Tino to go flying down that left-hand side, but I am going to sit more of a wing back than I am as an attacking player. And when we did get the overload down that right-hand side, the quality of the crossing wasn't there. And like I said, if you look at the opportunities that we created, because we did create a lot of opportunities, it was that final third, again, not finishing the chances that you have and not making the right decisions at the best times with some, and I go for T now, bless him, who just get a nosebleed at times. Tim, welcome on board,
Yeah, right,
son.
lads.
Yeah,
Right.
Come on
You,
then, mate.
Harry.
Give us your
Nice one.
give us your views, dude.
I mean, I've only heard bits of what you have said. Haven't heard all of it, so I might repeat a lot of stuff. But I thought first half I played really well, and we needed a score then. When you're on top against a top 5 team, you need to take your chances. Like you said, Tino having a nosebleed, he did class to get in that position. Just shoot, do something,
Just
but don't
something,
come back
yeah.
like that. Yeah. Bruno maybe could have. I mean, it was a class save from Rhea. Do you know what I mean? You've got to give them
Yeah.
credit.
Got man of the match, mate. I mean, it
right.
proves how good we were.
Did he
when
get
your
man of the
goalkeeper,
match?
he got man of the match.
Fine.
I mean, he was quality. So
I'm just looking at Andy, bless him.
here is Andy.
Nah,
No.
he can't hear.
No.
Oh man.
Honestly, I
So
don't know how many devices he's got.
7 in it. But I mean, before the game, all week I've been thinking, it's going to be tough, and we're likely to lose. And to be honest as well, weeks ago, I was saying, like, I was looking at the fixtures, and it's like, yes, we're third or whatever, fourth, but we've had the harder fixtures compared to some other teams. So to me, I'm not massively surprised that we're going into the last day needing this win, because you're playing the team who's second in the league. Brighton's no gimme as well, and we've got to point out of that. And I'm not. It's deceiving. I think with Aston Villa as well, they've been like 7th, 6th, and they're playing Man United and Spurs, who are on the beach. That's 3 points
absolutely.
free.
Yeah.
So they were always going to win them games, or they've got the Man United game. So hopefully Man U can come up with something. But it was never. It was always really tight, and in my mind, it was never in the bag. So, like I say, I'm not massively surprised, but it is frustrating. I think the second half, when you come to that, the frustration is kind of Anthony Gordon giving the ball away so cheaply. I think maybe because Arteta's bollocked them at half time, from what I can see. He's probably said, "Look,
he's
giving
certainly going to
Newcastle-
rock it, hasn't he?"
Yeah, he's saying you've gave them too much respect. Get into them, and they've pushed up the pitch 5 yards, and we can't get out. And again, there's no shame in that, because they're a really good side. So I think it's a case of being tight and not giving anything cheap away, and that's what we've done, and it's cost us. And Anthony Gordon, I think he hasn't been great all season, in that he's had fits and starts, but he hasn't had the same impact as last season. And it's just weird, because when you go back to the Brighton game, in his last full start, or not full start, but one of his starts before the suspension, he had a game there where he wasn't really tracking runs. He didn't look in the right headspace. And I'm looking at him today, and it's like, you're giving away the ball so cheap, and at least get back and put a tackle in, And
Body
And
language just wasn't there, was it, Tim?
it wasn't, I don't think. And I think he's a funny player that way, Gordon. And I've been a massive fan of Harvey Barnes. And Harvey Barnes has been off it the last 2 games, finishing wise. He hasn't connected well in the final third. But to me, I'd stick him left. When things aren't going well, they're both having off games. Just put Barnes left. I would back Barnes more than Gordon to pull something out the bag, technique-wise, if it's half chance. I know he didn't today, but just keep on plugging away, and I think you'll come
Run
up
of
trumps.
games, the old run of games that they keep.
Oh, and exactly, and obviously he's had it, and we can now see what he can do. Whereas Gordon, he's more of a rough diamond, and his pace is one of his main assets. Get him on the right if you're going to change things up, and get him going on the outside. I've said this before, so that does frustrate us, that where it seems like Gordon's he's like the go-to man for Eddie Howe on that side. Where to me, I'd give Barnes the benefit of the doubt for what he's done. But I would just say as well, like, kind of going back to my original point, in that I'm not massively surprised, because it has been so tight. And when you look at the squads, yes, our midfield is top class, but we haven't had and don't have the same depth as, say, Aston Villa have. Don't forget Aston Villa; they have got a quality midfield as well. Like Onana, Tillemans, these and Asensio, I think it is, have brought in January. These are quality players. So while we've got quality players, I don't think the points tells you that the gap isn't gigantic. So we've got no right to just walk into the Champions League and just dismiss these other teams around us because they're there on merit as well. And like I say, Aston Villa's wage bill, it's massive because they've brought in a lot of quality players and they're kind of gambling in a way to
That's
get this
exactly what they're
top
doing.
five.
Just to say though, with Villa, I think it's really valid what you're saying. By the way, Tim. Just to say though, one thing I'd say about Villa, I admire about them that we're short on is that ruthlessness. Douglas Luiz was their best player of last season. Their linchpin, their captain. They're like,
Yeah,
we need the money. Off you go. Musa
yeah,
Diaby, top quality winger. Had a mixed first season. They got big money for him. Off you go. John Duran, second string striker. Off you go. And I think
yeah.
that's the difference.
Well, he
Gus.
was their top striker when he went.
Yeah,
He was
the
hitting
whole
everything, wasn't
and it's not. I'm not attacking Eddie per se. It's more about the club. We're too soft. There's too much sentiment. If a bid of 70 million comes in for Gordon, he should go.
he? Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
There's
I
certain
would. I mean,
players I think that aren't like we
yeah,
call them
yeah,
our
I
crown
was going to
jewels.
ask you
yeah.
three. I was going to ask you three one thing, right? What does Eddie Howe see that we don't when he plays through the middle?
Like I say, through the middle, waste of time.
He goes out the game. I've never seen him play a
Waste
decent game
of
yet.
time through the middle.
I mean, is it something that I'm missing? He must do something in training, or he's reliant on when he was on the under-21s and got the golden boot, because it's totally different levels in the Premier League than it is to under-21 level.
Well, he did the the good pullback for Bruno and whatnot, but
Well, the only thing I can think of is when Gordon scored away at Arsenal, it was a tapping at the back post in the League Cup
Yeah.
at the Emirates. So maybe he's thinking, Gordon's liable to pounce on rebounds and stuff on the front line. But and I agree, I would never play him there. Gordon talks a really good game off the pitch, and that he's got the mentality and he's always visualising, doing this and doing that. And that is great. I do admire that. But I think for a centre forward position, I don't see it either. Eddie Howe's maybe listening to all these things and he sees his mentality, supposed mentality anyway, and he thinks, no, he'll do it, he can pull it off. But I've never seen it. And when you've got a Sula on the pitch as well, who is a striker, I don't see why you wouldn't swap those two around. I mean, my biggest beef is the fact that when I saw Gordon for Everton, I was excited when we signed him because I loved the fact that he was an old-fashioned winger in my mind who knocked the ball out of his feet, went on the outside and whipped balls in the danger area. And we've never tried that with him at Newcastle. And that's not to say he's been crap because he was class last season. So I can see both sides, but I just think mix it up a little bit with Gordon. And it seems like he's never tried or never given it a long run the right wing. The odd game here and there, but you need a run. But having said that, mind, I would, does Gordon want that? I wouldn't be surprised if Gordon's a bit kind of cold-shouldered with that, and then maybe that plays a part. I don't know, but what you're saying, Jefferson, about the transfer window, I touted that a few months ago, and I can understand about reluctance to sell some players when they have been so good for us, and you've got that connection with them. But I do think Gordon, he's had that one good season, brilliant season. He's had a mixed season this season. I agree.
Mixed.
Yeah, on that front, that's where you be ruthless. And when you get 70 million, like you say, Jefferson, when you can use that money, it's not to say Gordon's crap, but when you can use that money to get 2 or 3 quality players in, yeah, like you say, you go up the levels, you beef the squad up. You have to keep others. Obviously, you've got to have that balance. Keep Tonali, keep Isaac. But I do think that trading in the summer window is something we've got to look at, and hopefully we are ruthless. Again, it's a balancing act.
Listen, I've got to say now that from being, if I'd been given the option, even halfway through the season, as to we've got to sell a player. Who are you going to sell, Barnes or Gordon? It would have been Barnes every single day of the week.
I've always rated him, mate.
Well, I've always kind of rated him, but I've always been a bit on the fence about him. He's not. He hasn't got that bit of magic. But on the second half of the season, Barnes every day for me. And without doubt, Gordon is the most sellable asset. So if someone's asking me now, you know, 'cause if you're lucky, you're going to get, which is weird. And this is the thing: if you're lucky, you're going to get 30 million, 40 million tops for Barnes. Put you into the 60s and
the age
70s
as
and
well.
80s for Gordon. And since Barnes has had his bit running in the team on the left,
Can anybody answer that one? 4-1. Typical deluded Newcastle fan. Arsenal has chances in the second half to bury you.
Okay.
How many did Pope have to save?
Prince Machino. I don't know
Yeah.
who Prince Machino is.
He's
but-
obviously an Arsenal fan.
well,
Talk about deluded.
talk
Well,
about deluded. Who got man of the match? Oh yes,
Yeah.
your
Oh yeah,
goalkeeper.
the keeper. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
that's
their
how.
£105 million midfielder scores a goal. I mean, if you're spending money like that, they should be.
They should be good.
They should be.
Yeah, they should be running it, shouldn't they?
Let's have a quick look at the chats. We've got
Yeah, go for it.
Geordie dancing. Everyone was screaming for us to let us start when obviously when Isaac was didn't happen. Result equals defeat. Geordie Dan, I love you to bits, but no, don't agree with that.
You see, Jefferson
Oh,
said about it.
there's rugby analyst saying, Geordie Dan, do you really believe that was the reason we lost? Exactly.
I just want to make a point. Did you not see there was a cracking ball that was played in for Asula when he was playing through the middle at the start when he came on?
Yeah.
And he goes, literally, he runs parallel. This very similar to how Wilson was playing. And then, because of the way the ball was played, and again, this is what we were saying about Isaac, when he runs the line, he runs diagonal into the channels. With Wilson, very much a parallel player. Usula, very much a parallel player. They literally are what we call the train track players. And this goes back to the old days where, you've all heard, I think Rude Hullet was famous for saying to Shearer, just stay in the box. I don't want you running anywhere. Just stay in the box. That's the old-fashioned centre forward. Doesn't work these days. You're easily picked up if you're running backwards and forwards. What you have to do is intercept decision making by players giving you the ball because it's angle of player positioning and runs that sometimes make the easier ball. Now there was a cracking ball that was driven forward for Asula, who was behind. If he'd have read the ball, he could have actually had one touch and he would have been behind the defence of the Arsenal players. The problem is he went forward, is his usual tracks, and then had to divert his run diagonal because he wasn't expecting the ball. He was, like you said, Jefferson, he's expecting that ball pumped over the top for him to run on. The biggest problem is when you're playing against Arsenal, who aren't the quickest at the back, but they play very similar to the way Newcastle are, who aren't very quick at the back. Once you drop off, that precision ball over the top has to be absolutely spot on. Or it just, as you saw with Arsenal throwing the ball over the top, just runs through to Pope. So you lose that opportunity. Now, that is the only frustration for me. And that's why I said, I think Asula is so much more effective when he's on the right-hand side. He's got time to pick the ball up and run at you with the ball because he does the step overs. He's quick. He wants to go left. He wants to go right. And we all know, as we've seen him do, he can shoot with both feet. Now, as a defender, what you don't want is which way you're going to go. Because if I show you down the left-hand side, I've seen a video where you've scored against, was it Wimbledon? Bromley. Or was that, Bromley was Miley, wasn't it?
Oh, Miley scored in that game as well.
Yeah, he was that one as well, was it? Where he dropped his shoulder onto the left and buried it into the far corner. One was right. And that's what I'm saying. So as a defender, Asula is actually more effective running at you with the ball. He's not very effective if he's backwards and forwards through the middle. And I think that's what Eddie saw. And that's why I think he changed Anthony Gordon. One thing, Anthony Gordon was blown out of his ass. And the second thing was the fact that if I throw Anthony Gordon through the middle, I don't expect him to track back 70 yards as well as run forward 70 yards. Just stay central. I've got two players with Willock on the left-hand side who can do the tracking, as well as Asula on the right-hand side doing the tracking. And he looks a lot more effective coming in from that right-hand side, in my eyes. And I'm not saying that's where he'll start. I just don't ever really see. And again, he got the goal, obviously the headed goal, playing on that right-hand side. But, that's a central position. So we know he's got the ability. He's 6'3", 6'4". So he should be good in the air.
Big lad.
He's the perfect player if you look at him for his athleticism and everything else. I just think he needs to work alongside Isak for another season and really nurture what a forward player is. Now, whether you can do that was he 22 now? Whether you can,
now, I think.
23, whether you can still do that at that age, I'm very unsure as a natural striker. I think, unfortunately, when you're a striker, you are one way or the other. Now, we've all given Isak the Thierry Henry lookalikes, haven't we, with his ability to play. He can play wide, he can play central, he can do a number of roles. I'm not saying he's a jack of all trades because, to be fair, he's good at all of them. But is he excellent at all of them? And that's what I'm saying. When you become the elite striker, you have to be good at everything. Now, I think, like I say, I think you have got the makings of a really good attacking inside right player with Asula. I'm not sure he'll ever be a winger, and I'm not sure he'll ever be a centre forward. But he could definitely play the Harvey Barnes role if he played him in the 3-4-3 system as he played today. And I think Asula would be just as effective. I think if you'd have taken off Gordon as your first player off and put Harvey Barnes in a natural position as a inside left player and thrown Asula on as the inside right position, I think you'd have had a bit difference in the
I think that's the thing. The subs were baffling for me. And any comments, lads, on what Gary's just been saying?
Yeah, I mean, he looks a physical specimen, but it looks like there's some game intelligence there. So I think what you're talking about, Gary, is those sort of curved runs. Some people do horizontal, some do out to in,
curved
in,
in.
in to out, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously that comes with maybe a lot more training, a lot more game time. And this is why I think, rather than these odd cameos, he might need a season on loan to really put himself about so he can learn those things.
Get the minutes in his legs.
In a safe environment, rather than for us where, the risks, the stakes are very, very high if you make a mistake.
And the problem there, Jeff, is that if we do that, and by the way, I'm not averse to that, but that means we've got to get another standby striker. So you've either got to find somebody, and as daft as it sounds, and watching him today when he came on, DCL for me, would be
what? No, man, please,
because
man.
he would be happy to be second fiddle, and
he should be fifth fiddle.
Right, okay.
He's a 1 in 5 striker.
You've got to find somebody who's happy to play second fiddle.
It's a fine balance.
Come back. Let me get through the rest of these chats, please.
Go on.
I'll take that win. This is Stephen Hawke. I'll take that win. You weren't worried for today, and you said 4-1, but you're worried for Everton. I'm putting 5-0 on the tune. Well, I hope you're right.
Put a tenner on it.
Rugby saying we got Jose Mourinho'd a bit today. The first goal was always going to be key, to be honest. Yeah. Lee, when all I was trying to convey was this is when I took him up on the passing, was our main issue to me. Didn't question my belief, faith, and hopes for the tune, you rascal. I've got your name down in the book.
Rascal.
We need a Bruno's magic hat. We need a goal scoring centre mid, a la Morgan Rogers, Sabos. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. Eddie's typical in-game management, by the way. By the way, what's Eddie's deal with Wilson?
He's the only one to turn to at the minute.
It's that
Yeah.
sentiment again, though.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
could he have started with
There's
a
Gavin agreeing with you, guys, that's saying if we're going to play anybody through the middle, it should be Barnes, not Gordon. Aaron, under no circumstances should Wilson get a new contract. He's shown today he is finished. Waldo, though, we bossed Arsenal the majority of the game. Even better than the semi-final away game.
Which is true.
More shots on target, 5 shots to their 4.
The stats were all in their favour in the semi.
That's right. That's what I said. It felt like we'd hit this like a smash and grab.
Is this your twin, Tim?
I believe so.
Fit.
You got a twin brother, Tim?
Yeah.
First,
that's cool, man.
Have you never seen them on the channel together?
No, not at the same time.
Oh my God!
Maybe the multiverse will implode.
It is. It's crazy, man. You feel like Spider-Man's round the corner.
First half we bossed it, says Pete. Second half we got sloppy. But Arsenal are quality on their day. There's no denying that. And that's what I'm saying. Everybody's getting up in arms about. We got beat 1-0 in the second hardest fixture that any team can play in the Premier. Adrian Pickett, if we can't beat Everton at home, who have nothing to play for, we don't deserve Champions League. And that's a
good statement as well.
A modicum of truth to that.
Yeah.
That's fair. I think that's fair.
And Tony T saying, allied to that, with the other losses that we've had at home this season.
And that's the thing, isn't it?
We won't deserve Champions League.
The West Hams, the Fulham.
Yeah, the Bournemouths 4, crazy, isn't it?
8X Gamer is on my wavelength, if you like, saying we could quite easily win the Europa League if that's what we have to accept. I'm not saying what we have to accept it by a long stretch of the imagination.
No.
But that being the case.
But that's already in the bag. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You've got to push on from that now. That can't be the mindset. Yeah, exactly.
No, I agree.
And I think
it won't be their mindset, I think.
No,
I think
it's not. That's what Eddie said.
Eddie Howe and the board, they've got the ambitions to not settle for that, and they'll be doing everything possible in the summer, I think, to get back in the Champions League if we don't do it this time. So I've got no worries in terms of, having the wrong mentality and having a small club mentality. I think we're past that now with Mike Ashley gone and these owners and this manager. They want to go full steam ahead. You can critique how they go about it and stuff, but I think that the mindset, I'd never expected really the turn of the year to be in this position anyway. If you'd said to me, come the turn of the year, Europa League and a trophy, I would have took it.
Of course you would.
Because we were nowhere near Champions League. So, and like you've alluded to, well, as I've said as well, our squad compared to other squads and teams, it's very close. We have no God-given right to get Champions League. And the fact that we're in the mix right now, I think is amazing, really, considering, or when you look at the run we went on to get into this position. So you've got to give full credit. It's now landed in this position, which again, not surprised at when you look at the fixtures, ours and other teams. It's landed now in this position, final day of the season, with a shootout. And it's a case of, can we now handle our nerves? And you should be Everton at home. But when you look at the context of what's at stake, it's not as straightforward as that potentially. I'd like to think we can do it, but it's very much in the balance now.
I don't think we rate ourselves enough, though. I think I said it. I can't remember if it was sort of around the start of the season. That actually, if you think the fact that we had 13 injuries for first team players, and we still finished 7th.
Yeah.
And by the way, going into those final 5 games, we still had it in our hands.
Opportunity. Yeah.
That shows the quality of actually, no, we're not here. We're actually already here. And so with less injuries and not Europe, I expected us to finish top 6. I actually predicted 5th, believe it or not. My other colleague...
That's where we're going to be.
My colleague actually predicted 3rd or 4th, believe it or not. But I think we don't rate ourselves enough. We have a very good team. I know the squad is a bit... It drops off. but there are still some reliable players in there. And I think what's happened is I think Eddie sort of started to lean into and trust some of those players as we've drifted towards the end here, because you're seeing Kraft come on more, you're seeing Miley
Yeah.
come on more, you're seeing Asula come on more. Could that have happened earlier in the season? So I felt very much the manager's learned as he's gone on, and I'm hoping it's not a case of sort of too little, too late. But I think we'll get it over the line. It's just as you guys have all said,
That's the trouble.
pressure,
It's
the
the Newcastle
pressure,
way.
man.
Yeah, exactly.
Pressure.
We
I
never
mean,
do things easy, man.
I mean, listen. At the end of the day, you know, I'm not knocking the boys for their performance now. These next 3 games or last 2 games, today and next weekend, is done by now. It's a case of it's still in our hands. What gets me is the games that we've already gone when the lads weren't so tired, when they've still got that little bit of grip. And yes, people will always argue the toss. We've got one eye on the cup, which we won. But when it's all said and done, when you look back, if
And
it
by
doesn't happen,
the way, everybody said when we won the cup, all right, well, that's it. They'll take their foot off the gas now, and we've
no,
done
well, it's nothing like that.
But.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you know, it's that sentiment
I
about
just think that the overreaction that you get from the
From a
Newcastle
loss.
fan base now, from the very occasional defeat that we suffer, is just so over the top. It's outrageous.
If it had been outperformed today, you can understand it. But I don't think we have at all. I think, like I say, we've took the game to them, and it's been one silly mistake that has allowed them space through the centre of the pitch. And again, you know, he's still 20 yards out from goal, 22 yards out from goal. He's still got a hell of a shot to get it past Pope in that position. But again, you know, they've paid 100 and some odd million for him. That's what you expect.
That's what you get for £110 million and
to be fair,
and £280,000 a week.
But what I'm going to say to you now is, what else did he do in the game?
Not a lot.
There you go.
But
that's what I said. It's that little bit of class when it needs it.
Yeah.
And that's all it is, isn't it?
Shows how far we've come, though, that we're almost feeling aggrieved. You know?
Yeah, and I think that is the word.
Justice in the result. You know what I mean?
You're feeling aggrieved. I'm not feeling aggrieved.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, boys.
I am the ultimate realist.
Hold on. You said they were going to finish 8th.
I said Arsenal were going to finish 8th, yeah.
They're still bloody second, mate, with 1 game to go.
Yeah. Well, that's second full stop. They can't get caught now.
No, exactly. Anyway, listen, boys, I'm going to have to go. It's been great.
We'll crack on for a little while.
I'm happy for you guys to carry on, but I'm being screamed at from downstairs. My dinner's...
Thanks, Gary.
If I don't carry on, my dinner's going to be in the dog, and I haven't even got one.
Brilliant commentary as usual. Well done,
guys. Thank you so much for your love and support as always. See you on the next one.
Cheers, mate.
Yeah, that's right.
Legend. See ya. Win. I just wanted to come back to you on a point that you made, right?
Yeah.
I think there's 2 things going on. So number 1, I think we're very similar to City. You know, when City under Mancini, they won the FA Cup, and it was so important because they missed the Champions League the year before, and they had to get in. Like, the pressure was high. They made Champions League, and then they never looked back. And I think that's where we're at. I feel missing 2 consecutive seasons could be massive for us, particularly if Villa get in and they again, back-to-back seasons, the gap's going to open up there. But you talked about signing players that know they want to play second fiddle. And I think that's where we could go wrong. I remember Spurs back in 2018-19. They had been chasing for the title. They built a very good first 11. And I think where they fell short was they were deliberately signing players who couldn't challenge their first 11. And that's when it started to fall apart for them. I'm not saying you're going to get a player that's better than Harry Kane, of course not. But you need to be signing players who are going to put these players under pressure where they feel their place is threatened.
Yeah, but you have to persuade those players to come to the club in the full knowledge that, for example, in the analogy you've just made, that they can come to the club and that they are going to seriously challenge Harry Kane.
Yeah,
but I think
you set yourselves up. But sorry, Tim. I was just going to say you set yourself up when you target players that are less than, though, deliberately, if that makes sense. I think we should be in it to win it, and then if we don't sign them, we don't sign them. You know.
So what is Well, so then we don't sign anybody.
Well, no, I mean, obviously, we don't do a Gearhey situation when we waste 6 weeks on a player, but give it a week, 2 weeks, and if there's no progress, then fine, we move on to other targets.
Okay,
But I'd
so,
rather
so
that
for
ambition than not
example,
having ambition.
because for example, I believe we could now afford to sign Victor Gyökeres, who I would love at the club to play alongside Isak,
Mm.
as he does for Sweden. But if we were to go and make a serious bid for Gyökeres, and he knows that for him to get in the team, he's got to outperform Isak. What's the chances of him choosing Newcastle over going to Arsenal, where he's got nobody to challenge, or Chelsea, or wherever, all the Liverpool even, where he's been mooted to be interested in?
Well, you said it though, Win. You said it. You you've been quite creative there in talking about the relationship Gyökeres has with Isak at Sweden. So I don't have any UEFA coaching badges, but the first thing I would do is I would mimic that, and I'd do a 4-4-1-1 with Isak actually behind Gyökeres, because that's how they play for Sweden. That could work. I wouldn't stick with the same rigid 4-3-3. You can adjust based on who you're signing, but I'm just saying it's dangerous business if we're deliberately signing understudies for our first 11, because you will not push to the next level. You need people chomping at the bit in training so that they earn their place. Otherwise, we're going to stagnate. That was just a point I wanted to make.
I think a lot of players out there as well would back themselves, or top players. They've got the ego and the mindset where they think, yeah, it's Isak, but I'm me, and I can get in the team because I'm so good. I think elite players have that mindset, and it sounds deluded from the outside, but you have to have that mindset as a top player to perform at that level. What I would say is Mateta at Palace. I mentioned him earlier in the season, and he's now went on and he's done even better. So you might have difficulty getting him for a decent price, but I think he would have been a really good signing, where he knows he's going to play quite a few games and not necessarily take Isak's place straight away. But I think he'd be someone like it's a very fine balance to get this player. Like, I understand what you're saying, Jefferson, because you don't want to get a player who's happy to be in the bench, because you might then just get a crap player. But you don't want to get or you can't get a top player who knows that he's going to be second fiddle, if you want to call it that, who wants to be the poster boy for the number 9. But Mateta falls in that category in between the two, where I think he'd be happy knowing if you got European games that he's going to get a fair share of minutes in the cup games as well. And if Isak gets a knock, if he's out of form, he's like, well, I'll take my chance, and so he's an option potentially. Like I say, it might be a lot of money now, but somebody like that, I think, I would be looking at. I mean, I agree what you said as well, Jefferson, in terms of Champions League. Well, I don't necessarily agree in terms of is it going to be defining? I mean, setting us back and stuff. Maybe, maybe not, because you get in the Europa League. If you win that, look at Spurs and Man U this season. Jesus Christ, they're going to be in the Champions League, and they haven't had to do too much to be in that position. So there's no doubt we could win that competition and get back in that way. So I think it's difficult to kind of. It's not an exact science, is what I'm saying, and that things can change very easily. So I know what you're saying. If we don't get Champions League again, it's like Villa have got it second time in a row. You're trying to catch them, but then there's other teams who've missed out, and those other teams, Chelsea, Man City, they go further back. So we're still challenging them, and we can claw positions back and claw Villa back potentially the next season if we're smart in the transfer market. So it's like I say, it's a very fine line.
Never mind if we're smart, Tim. If we're in the transfer market,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
which
for
by
once,
by all accounts, this time we're going to be after 3 nothing transfer windows because of PSO. This time we are going to be in there, and then I don't feel I'm being entitled by then thinking we should step forward. I think we should. If we are spending big money in the transfer window, then we are entitled to think that we're going to improve on what we're doing now.
Yeah.
But right now, as I've said, we are way overperforming from where we should be right now. After 3 windows of doing absolutely zit all. And,
Yeah, because that. Yeah, sorry, but that also has an effect on the current players, doesn't it? You know, some of these players are quality players, but when they
yeah.
don't get to play with new
Mm,
teammates who are at the same level, that can affect
Of
the
course it
current
can.
players, and
100%
they have to carry more load. Yeah, so they
tired,
could not.
man.
Yeah. So on paper, it's like, well, these players on paper should be doing X, Y, and Z, but when they haven't had the freshness of new signings to mix things up
There's
with,
been
then
no
yeah,
competition
it's
for
context.
we could have more or less written our first 11, our team sheet out for the past couple of seasons. Every match, everybody knew who the best 11 players were. Very, very little thing, and then every time when we have had that competition, we've ended up with injuries again. You know, we've had Lewis Hall, who was the best left back in the Prem today, who's been out for the last a third of the season. J7's been out for a quarter of the season. So we've got all these great players, but they're all injured. And as has been proven today, Isaac, arguably best centre forward this season, he's been playing it kind of half baked for 5 or 6 games.
Mm.
And if that hadn't, Botman's been out. We've all seen how good Botman is. He's been out. Like I said, people have over expectations, in my point of view, from what we've achieved this season and last season, and indeed the season
Yeah, but we're not
before.
minnows though. I still don't believe in this talk. We almost talk like we're minnows. I'm not saying
I'm
we
not
haven't,
saying we're minnows,
but
but I'm saying you
I
have
think
to
we're
be
better than
realistic.
people think we are. I think we're better
Well,
than people think we are.
I think it's more kind of expectation versus, not hope, but kind of
Well, that's
realism, if you want
exactly
to put
what
it
it
that way. But
is.
yeah, like I think I wouldn't be sitting here personally and saying we should be, here. We should be because it's so there's all these teams, they are so closely matched, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We then haven't got the right to say we should be
It's
Champions
the
League.
toughest league in the world.
Yeah, if it was like between us and one other team, and the gap then below the rest was like a chasm, then okay, I'll be saying yeah we should be doing it. But when you've got all those teams there competing, and for the reasons you've just said there, Win, about the injuries, about the lack of signings, while yes, I know what you're saying, Jefferson, we then don't go to the flip side and say, oh, it's a nice season, and we'll enjoy it, and we might not be back here again. We're not going to go with that mindset either. It's a balance. It's a balance. I think we certainly, I would say, should be competing for Europe, and that's obviously what we're doing, whether it's
Yeah.
Europa League or Champions League. But to
Oh,
zone in on
Conference
Champions
League.
League specifically, yeah. I mean,
That
um,
on the strength of how much we pay players in wages, we should be competing for Champions League.
yeah,
We've got to
Uh,
get the recruitment right for sure. In terms of, we
yeah.
know the right winger and the centre back. I think I'd be more than happy to spend big money on. But this is where I want to see Paul Mitchell prove his mettle. I think we need another 3 or 4 positions filled up, and it needs to be with like random foreigners who are going under the radar, costing less than
youngsters.
20 million. Even yeah, under 23 sort of thing. Between 18 and 23, who they can be in the squad. Because we've seen Bournemouth do it. How did they discover Kirkez? How did they snap up Hoyson? Because I wonder if we had money, if we would have gone for Hoyson. How these
Well,
clubs, like how Brighton found
we were in
Ayari.
we were in
Ayari
for
was like
Hoyson.
6 million.
We
How are
were in
these
for
clubs
Hoyson at
finding?
Juventus.
I guess we, with the PSR, we didn't get to buy him. But this is what I want to see. Man City were able to buy Julian Alvarez for 18 million. So if you get your scouting right, it but what I see is we'll go straight for these big players. Maybe there's no reason. There's talk of Delap. Yes, Delap would be solid. 30 million is actually good business for someone of him. He's got a high ceiling. But I'm just saying we shouldn't automatically go for some of these that are either Premier League proven or will cost us a fee. I want to see Paul Mitchell doing what he did at Southampton, doing what he did at Spurs.
What he
Imagine
did
if
at
we got
Monaco.
someone the ilk of Heung-min Son out of nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Virgil van Dijk out of nowhere. That's what he was able to do. So I want to see that replicated with us. Save us some money.
Incidentally, what's that strip you've got on?
It's because I'm missing Miggy.
So oh, is it Atlanta's
Atlanta.
it?
Atlanta, yeah. Oh, is he back? Is he in?
Are you in?
Can you
Yes.
hear us?
Oh, hello.
Yes.
Hey!
Hey.
Now. Excuse me, French. Sorry.
So what have you done? Have you turned it off mute?
Not me. It's just pure luck. This. It's just pure luck.
Right, oh, well, let's have you say.
Right, well, I've been listening the best I can while I've been trying, and I think everyone, everyone's right and wrong. You're right when myself included was a little bit down after the game, a little bit maybe too much considering we're playing Arsenal in second place. But I think the difference between the two sides was exaggerated by the fact that when Isak's missing, we've got nothing off the bench. They had players that could come and affect the game in an attacking sense off the bench. Had we went 1-0 up and had to hold on to the game, I think with subs might have been able to work. But I thought Botman was fantastic the first half, by the way. If that's him at 50%, I can't wait until he's back fit. But Gordon, for me, frustrated the life out of us. I know I alluded to it. But I'd like to add some context to that. He gave up on a ball that Tino went and saved. He's quicker than Tino. He was closer at the ball than Tino. For me, that is attitude. That's not ability, that's attitude. And I think that's what's been missing out of him for late. It seems as if he's rattled a little bit that Harvey Barnes is pushing him.
I thought you were on about the ball that went under his foot.
No,
In
it
the
was going to go out.
and it was going to go out, and Tino Ran got that.
Yeah, well, why's Gordon not backing him up?
Because Gordon was in the middle, and it just went under his foot.
He gave up.
Yeah.
He
For
gave
me,
up.
Tino had to run past Gordon to get that ball. It's just my opinion. Don't get us wrong. I'd have to watch it again. But for me, he didn't back him up in the sense that if let's say the Arsenal player was going to challenge him on the line for it, Gordon wasn't there to back him up. It just seems to me a little bit that he's a little bit rattled by the competition, which look we're going to need. And the other thing is when he's got his back to the goal, he's got no interest in knocking the ball in the middle and just running in behind. He's quite happy to run after the ball when it's played over the top, but he's never wanting to run and then the ball come. He's always, yes, there was one occasion today where he did make the defender make the ball, but he's frustrating the life out of me at the minute.
He's not playing well at the minute. I don't think
No,
there's nobody
no.
going to argue that case. But I don't know if it's attitude or what. I don't know.
But
Well,
you've
who
got
would you
to.
play?
I just think when we have a bad result, which isn't that often, by the way,
No.
everybody goes into meltdown and what's wrong, and instead of whoa, let's look at this logically and rationally. Have a look at the game. How bad were we really? And the answer is not that bad at all.
Let's be honest. We could have been 2-0 up. I mean,
We
if it
could have
wasn't
been
for Rio.
easy 2-0 up. If you
We
want
could have
to,
been 2-0.
it's easy to point fingers at Gordon saying he made the mistake that led to their breakaway to get in the goal. But equally, we missed some sitters, did you?
I think the frustrating thing is when the thing that he did when he gave the ball away, he did quite regularly today. That's the problem. He did it 3 or 4 times in their half. We had a good spell about 63 minutes in. We got the ball at the edge of the box. We had a sustained period of possession. and he only had to play a 4-yard pass, and he gives it straight to an Arsenal player, and we nearly got broke on at that point. That was just before the goal. But again, as Gary alluded to before, I mean, it's a wonder strike from Rice that's beat as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I mean, on another day, we could have come away with a very valuable point. It's just you see the danger that Gordon can cause, and not just him. There's other players in the team that didn't really fire on all cylinders today. But it's a good side, Arsenal. Let's be honest.
We've got an unhappy Jay here who's made a few kind of semi-negative comments, and if we don't qualify for the Champions League, is Isaac committed to the club?
Well, obviously, it's going to be a worry. More of a worry
I'm not
this summer.
convinced. Sorry. Well. Here's the thing. If he's not, dead simple. Get the money, because there's plenty of money to be had. And then we don't have to look at somebody who's going to be happy to be second fiddle to him. We'll get somebody who can do a job in their own right.
If that is the case, when I reluctantly agree with you.
And the bottom line for me is anybody who doesn't want to be, bear in mind they're all tied up to contracts till at least 2028. Anybody who's not happy here, get the hell out of town. Not a problem. We'll find people who are, because that's what this club is now built on. That's the spirit that Eddie's got built. Either it's one for all and all for one. If you weren't part of that, on your bike, bunny lad.
You can understand it from an Isak point of view. He's hearing all the media talk about the fact that he's probably the best all-round striker in Europe at the moment.
As far as Isak's concerned, I think they need to be offering him a new deal. He could go anywhere right now and get near enough 300 grand a week. He's on 120 here until 2028. So that needs to be addressed, or you will have an unhappy player.
I honestly think it's the Champions League that means more to him than the money. I'll be honest. For me, if I was him, I'd be thinking I want to play in Champions League.
I honestly don't think so.
Right.
I think even if we don't get, I still think we're going to get Champions League. But even if we don't, I don't think there's any player leaving the tune because we haven't got Champions League. That's Tonali, that's J7, that's Bruno, that's Isaac.
Can't we just tell the women's team to pay for his wages?
Yes, that's a good idea.
No. You see, the point about this, Jefferson, is it's down to intent from the tune.
When are you able to refresh this? I'm frozen on my side, so I don't know where the hell I am on the camera. Not that anyone wants to see my much.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can hear us, you're absolutely perfect. We can see you.
Yeah, cool, Nibala. I don't know where you can just see me big logo or what.
No, I can see everything about you. Unfortunately.
No, I mean, I just see it if he's got the ambition to be the best striker on the planet, which you can tell he's eager to. You want to be playing Champions League, and you can't begrudge him if we don't qualify for Champions League. If it's a Real Madrid or if it's, I don't know, an Inter Milan or something, or if they win the Champions League. But if it's an Arsenal or a Liverpool, I'd be a little bit begrudged. I'll be honest.
If it was Real Madrid, Liverpool, or Man City
might, because
I would, or a PSG or Barcelona, even get on with it. But if you want to go anywhere else, just if you're leaving, listen. What I'm saying is he is entitled to be paid what he's worth, and that right now is north of 280 a week.
Double what he's on now, isn't it? Really,
more than double. But if that is not enough, if it's purely wages, and we decide that we're not going to match that, then we don't deserve to keep him.
Agreed.
So the club needs to manage it well, though, Win, in terms of he needs a new contract regardless, because if he's only going to have 2 years after this season, is that correct? Is it 3 years?
Yeah.
So he can just run the contract down, and then we get nothing, as we've seen with other clubs. I'd rather us nail him down to a new contract,
Well,
put the
that
minimum
I
put
mean,
the minimum clause in, so we're guaranteed to get a certain amount of cash. Do you know what I mean? 120 mil, maybe even north of that. Otherwise,
right. Well,
we could end up penniless.
what I'm saying is, the bottom line is, if ever a player decides that he ain't happy at the club, well, I'm speaking for Newcastle United now. If you didn't want to be here, go on your bike.
As long as we know early in the summer, as opposed to anything dragging on and on.
That's right. We don't
And
want to
can
be.
get the
We
cash
don't want
and
to
then
be in a
do what we need to do.
Trent Alexander-Arnold situation where we're going to get nothing for him.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
But by all accounts, all these negotiations are taking place as we speak.
Well, I hope so. But you're massively right. If you're matching, or you're the nearest to Mo Salah for goals and assists in a season, then you expect that your wages are going to be near towards his.
Absolutely.
Totally agree.
You could put a clause in, couldn't you? You could say, look, like, let's say if we're not in the Champions League, and fingers crossed that isn't the case, but if we're not, then you could say to him, look, sign a new deal, give us another year here, and we'll have a clause in your contract to say next summer, if we're not in the Champions League again, and a Champions League club comes in, we will accept X amount or something. Maybe
a reduced amount.
That's got to be something really big, because what's the if we said, let's say 100 million, just for the, you've got to think about the ramifications of this. So if we say to Isaac, right, sign a new contract with a clause in saying that if we are not in the Champions League next year, you can go for 100 million, just for the sake of argument. His market value might actually be 150 million.
Yeah. I know.
So he'll be able to get a 50 million signing on fee of somebody.
That's a massive incentive to sign the contract, isn't it?
It's in his interest not to try and make sure Newcastle get in the Champions League.
Well, he wouldn't. I know you mean win, but he obviously wouldn't. He would be trying his hardest to get that.
So to avoid all of that, what I'm saying is, you only have players who want to be at the club, and I do believe, as a champion for Anthony Gordon last season, player of the season, he was entitled to a massive pay rise. He got it. And Chris argues that it's the fact that he's got all that extra money that is why he's underperforming this season. Forget about the injuries. Forget about the fact he's never had a rest for 3 years. All the bits to go with it.
Well, personally, I think Gordon.
I think under pressure now. Sorry, mate.
I would have, maybe if you're going to give Gordon a raise, I'm not too sure about how big a raise as it was. I know you would say he's best player that season. Okay, fine, but it's one season. It's his first full season.
That's Chris's argument.
I understand that, because again, he's rough around the edges. He's not the finished article, so I think we shouldn't be then pushing him up suddenly to be on Isaac's level, who had shown it over 2 seasons. Injury record, yes, I'll give you that, but over 2 seasons, Isaac has showed his class.
Which is the other thing. Gordon was always available. Isaac made a glass.
Yeah, fair enough. But with Isaac in the summer, you have a decision to make as to whether, if you're not comfortable with any clauses, then that's when you say, well, okay, we'll take the cash now. Do you know what I mean? We've got to do something, because
it's a gamble, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
because if
really
he gets 25
difficult.
goals next season, you're hopefully thinking those goals puts us in Champions League. But then he's only got 1 year left in his contract, and people are going to be like, well, we can just wait and get him for free next year. So I see what you're saying.
Put it into this context, lads.
Yeah.
Harvey Barnes, for me, look at him anywhere around the edge of the box, 20 yards out, he's a big, big threat. You can't say that about Gordon. His threat comes from energy, pressing, running without the ball. How many, let's say, for argument's sake, let's play devil advocate, you got 65, 70 million for Gordon. There are so many left wingers out in Europe that are very similar to him, that have similar attributes, like Gittins, out on the left, young, quick, fast, get similar numbers as well. Let's not kid ourselves. Gordon's numbers aren't double figures. like Gordon's, like
Well,
Harvey
are they?
Barnes has managed. You know, Barnes has got a history of getting double figures, not just goals and assists. For me, yes, we know that there's potentially levels for Gordon to go to, but for me, Wynn mentioned it earlier. You know, when you weigh the scales, if you've got a sellable asset there, and I'm not saying that we should do this, I just think it's easier to replace Gordon than it is Harvey Barnes because he's a striker effectively playing out on the left hand side,
I agree.
and they are the rock and horse muck at the moment. Let's be honest.
We've had two full seasons of Anthony Gordon. He's in double figures already this season with 6
Aye,
goals,
if you
5
combine
assists,
both, yes, yeah,
and 11 and 10 last season, double figures.
right.
So
But he hasn't getting double figures in both goals and assists this season, has he? That's what I'm saying. Harvey Barnes is getting more goals and assists this season in probably what 6/8 of the minutes. He's played a lot less minutes.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
okay, there's been
ultimately,
to the tail
go on,
end of the season. Even last season, if you look at it, Barnes was getting what did he get last season? 7 goals, 5 assists, maybe. He didn't play a great deal of football last season.
oh yeah. And I think the reason why is because we can see with our eyes that he has the technique and the
Yeah,
close control that Gordon has not got. And, you know, like we said about Asula, you can't wait forever for players to develop those skills. You kind of, what you see is what you're going to get at a
yeah.
certain point. And again, I'm not saying, and we're not saying that Gordon is a really poor player. We're just kind of balancing about juggling what the best thing is to do when you're trading like this and when you're considering goals and assists. And yeah, I totally agree with everything you've said there, Andy, about the two players.
Agreed.
What I would say for me, right, Alanga, right wing, Barnes left, and then a young winger to come in who's adaptable, and then Murphy. I'm throwing that out there. That's just thinking off the top of my head, but to me, that will be a really good. If we have to sell Gordon, or if we choose to sell Gordon to get some money to bring 2 or 3 bodies in, I'd be happy with that.
Yeah, you could look at the
I
likes
think
of.
it could end up being the biggest mistake we've ever made.
Well, I could, Win, you're possibly right, but I just think the likes of Adewini from Dortmund, Gittins from
Well,
Dortmund.
I certainly. Well, you can have as many names as you want in, Andy. But for a start, if I was talking about a right winger, it wouldn't be a Langer for me. You know, even from the Prem, you know, when you've got Semenyo and Bueno and Bowen, and there's just so many right wingers. But
There is, yeah.
I honestly think that we're okay. You know, everybody's down.
All's well. We're not
Everybody,
panicking.
all's well, exactly. Everybody's super down because we've been beaten by the team that's second in the league, away from home, by 1-0. And
And I think
you think the world had caved in.
I felt like it went
Reality,
right to
man.
score.
Reality. You know, I was hopeful today. I was very hopeful today. I thought walking the park. But I thought Isaac would be playing. And he wasn't.
Yeah,
The, the,
I'm very. I said to the missus I didn't fancy versus
I
Everton.
was
Moyes is
I even had a smidgen of a hope that J7 might be back. But he wasn't. There's 2 of our best players unavailable in the second hardest game of the season. And we've got beat 1-0, and everybody's doom and gloom. I'm saying, wait a minute.
no. It's not the case. We're just frustrated with elements of things, not the overall. Not the products, just parts that come with it.
Shows how far we've come though, because we didn't used to have any problems at all. I went on a boycott of just watching the team after, like during the 14 years of hell we had, because I was just like, there's no hope. I think there's some positives in there. It's just passion because we all want the best and we know it's in our hands. We've got it in our grasp. If we were also Rands, we wouldn't care. I think it's all good.
All I'm saying is realism. Where we are, the tools we've got available, and the tools we haven't got available.
I thought you would be the most frustrated considering you predicted were to get second at the start of the season, if I'm honest, Win.
Yeah, that's bad. Today's games cost me 200 quid.
There you are, you see.
It's quite a few pints.
That's quite a
A
few
few
pints
brown ales, like,
indeed.
innit?
You posters.
But
Rounds would have been on you if that one came in, Win.
yeah, but well, would they? Because obviously it's cost me now, so are all my rounds on you now. This is what gambling's about. Everybody, when you have a decent win, everybody says, "Oh, get this." But when you have the losing bets, they don't say, "Oh, well, there's a bit towards it. There's a bit towards it."
When I
You're
come
not
down, you're
asking for
going to show
much
me a
there, like, are
tour,
you?
Win.
What's that, sorry?
I
What
was
do you
just saying,
say?
when I come down, you're going to show me a tour.
Oh, I'll show you a
Because
tour without a
then,
Yeah, but
doubt.
this
you know what I mean? Get the
this
rounds
is
in,
coming
mate.
from the guy that drinks in Aspas, you know. I mean, how?
He drinks in where? Asda.
Aspas Casino. I mean, the casino must be his best friend. So, I mean, I'm sure he's made some other wins
Hey,
elsewhere.
hang on. By the way, it's Bally's now. It's been taken
Oh, it's the
over.
Valleys now,
It's
sorry.
Bally's Casino now.
All
£4 a pint
Oh, wow.
in the centre of town. What's not to like? And
Uh,
that's any pint, Guinness, bloody.
Percy's cheaper than that, man.
It's cheaper than the Black Garter, man.
Can it be, surely?
It's not, yeah, Reed. The Black
I was
Garter's
going to say.
$3.60.
Oh, you're getting ahead of yourself there.
But
Okay.
it's cheaper than virtually anywhere. Well, actually, cheaper than the Black Garter for Guinness.
How much is a Guinness?
Guinness typically in the town's about £5.50 or something like that.
£6, give or take.
£5.56. £4 and Aspas on match days.
Yeah, I found was it Madrid in Spain when I was in Salou. €1.85 a pint.
Oh.
Oh, wait. I say it's the guy who says, you're going to be seeing a lot of me, mate.
Oh.
Anyway, lads, listen, it's been great. Thank the lot of you for coming on. And thanks to everybody in the chat. That's how I look, just double. See you.
Any religious people on the chat?
We've got
Great to do a prayer
Sam there.
before next week.
Sam, thank you for your super chat. Disappointed, but we have
Thank you,
one
man.
more game. Excellent. Okay, guys, so we're going to wrap it up now. We've been on the go for nearly 2 hours. Bloody hell.
Now in 58 minutes, so that was
I'm
me
back
trying
on.
to get on.
An hour
in half an hour
58 minutes. So what did you do different?
Now I just I tried about 6 different servers. I cleared everything off my phone.
What do you mean by servers?
So I tried Opera Mini, I tried Samsung Internet, I tried Google Chrome, I tried a different device. I did the same on them. And then I've always found that the less people on in the background in the studio, the more likely I am able to get on. Whether it's my internet or something, mate, I do not know. But I've getting the laptop sorted. I'm waiting to get it updated tomorrow. And then I'm going to trail up to your house so you can have a look at it.
Right.
You can sort it out.
Okie dokie. Okie
And I get
dokie,
me
picking
book.
a pokey. Jefferson, thanks for coming on, mate. Tim, thanks a lot.
Cheers.
And Andy,
Yeah, lad.
eventually, well done getting on.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Exactly, that's what all that says to me. Anyway, see you all again, folks. Thanks for joining us. And we will be back tomorrow night, 9:30. Catch you later.
Take care, everyone.
Well, lads.
How are the lads?
How are the lads?
This is some bands.
And that's it.